Good morning, good afternoon, and happy Wednesday. It really was a happy Wednesday today. To my surprise, I thought it was going to be a slow day today, but it actually turned out to be a really good day today. So let's go ahead and break it all down. How I caught the most obvious stock in the market today on YCBD. It was an awesome one to trade today. Did really well on this thing. I couldn't be much happier, to be honest with you. I mean, this thing was awesome. So let's break it all down. The cannabis theme is hot. Cannabis news is everywhere. And these stocks were definitely on fire today. Now, going into market open, there really wasn't a whole lot that I was watching. There wasn't really an obvious stock that looked good in going into market open. And so the pre-market watch list was a little bit slimmer than usual. And so today, all I had on the watch list was YCBD and ATPC. And we didn't really have much else into market open aside from these two. And ATPC here didn't do anything after market open. I said I wanted to watch it over 16. This never broke over 16, so I didn't play it. But on YCBD, we said to watch it over VWAP with a range of 226 and 240. Well, look at this. It broke over VWAP, made a move all the way to targets, all the way to that 240. So this thing was awesome today. So let's break it all down. Of course, I want to look through the gappers we had as well today because there was a lot through here that, of course, we didn't play either. PCSA was up bigly today, but no real opportunities all through here. This thing was just halting. I leave those alone. My cojones aren't big enough for that, and I'm not trying to go gamble. So left that alone. Of course, VYNE I also didn't like because this was backside going into market open. You have the front side move here, pretty tight here going into the bell. Then, of course, this puts in place this topping tail off the high and breaks down lower. I'm not fighting trend there today either. And then, of course, we had YCBD and ATPC. Now, ISPO was also one we couldn't play today. This was up on going private news, which, of course, there's no upside there because everybody's aware of what that upside was. That's why those acquisitions, those buyouts trade sideways because everybody's aware of what the upside is. And that was really all you had. I mean, nothing else was really moving. Like UDMY, float was too big. So that was it. And so looking back over here at YCBD, this thing looked really good. Now, this is from last night's watch list. If you tune in for my free watch list every night, you probably were watching this hopefully today. This thing was awesome, and it gave you so many good opportunities we're going to break down here. Now, the daily time frame here is phenomenal. I cannot believe how good this looked today. This is the primary reason why this was on the watch list last night, too. Now, we had, of course, this sort of daily flag get put in here. Kind of odd, just daily flag, but nonetheless. And broke out here, first candle to make a new high. We have this lower high. Then, of course, today breaks out in a big way over those highs. And this past daily high, which sat right here underneath $2 a share. So, of course, we knew that now we were over this 195 or really 2 area that this thing had plentiful range to the upside. Because if we look back on the daily chart now, you can see we pretty much had range here to about 240. Look at this back here. So we had range to about 250, actually. You can see here this previous daily low sitting back here around 250. Which again we're using as an area of range. Again, now that we're over this past daily high of 195. So again, this gives you a perfect range to play here. Look at this. From the 195s to the, as you can see up here, around 250. Again, this is your safe play zone, and I played it all through this zone all today. Even got some good ads on this today. I was able to get pretty aggressive on it. So going into market open, let me show you the 5-minute time frame here so you can see the bigger picture set up here of what I was seeing going into the bell. And so going into market open, again, there's only one way you can really watch this. You can't watch to the downside because you have that daily spot of 190s there. But the bigger thing was you had this sort of, again, look at this. You have this sort of 5-minute flag getting put in. Let me make this a little bit thicker so you can see it. So you've got this 5-minute tightening wedge here going into market open. Look at this. And so this thing's really getting tight. I want to see confirmed direction to the upside. Once it does confirm that direction to the upside, this looks fantastic. We also noted here as well that we have this big wick off the high as well. So we know we had overhead supply sitting here too, which we could possibly look for pullbacks out of if it did break over that high, which as you can see, we did do perfectly. So again, let's break this all down. Again, this looked fantastic. It was the most obvious stock. This was all that we really had moving after market open, so made it that much better. So you go into the open. This gets perking up and it breaks out of that tightening wedge that you had formed from pre-market and gets over VWAP. And of course, I knew we had to get over VWAP because that was also the break of trend. And so we had that sort of multi-piece confluence that we need to make an A-plus setup where we have the 90 MA right here, we got VWAP right here, we have the break of that tightening wedge from pre-market right here, we have room on the daily chart to 250, so you got everything else here just aligned and really just perfect here. And so in the first trade here, it looks like I took it up here at 223, but that's just because the average cost was raised because I got an ad over the high of day. And so what we actually had here is, you talked about earlier, we had that sort of area of supply drawn here. Let me draw this for you so you can actually see what we're looking at. So let's see, those wicks off the highs from pre-market. Check this out. Here we go. So what we had here was I took the first entry here. Look at this. It starts to break out at the bell. It pulls back, and I take the pullback entry right here as it tries to get curling higher because look at this. Volume starts to pour in. It puts in place a confirmed bottom here off the 90 MA. And so I take the entry here on this candle. Stop loss goes here at the bottom of that previous candle's low, and I look for that continuation higher for the extension through that previous high. Now, as it broke out, I knew that this was an area of supply, right? This was supply from that high in pre-market we talked about. And now, of course, once price breaks above that and pulls back, now it becomes an area of demand, right? So now it becomes an area of demand. And so I actually got an add here. As this candle pulled back, I added here, and I got to move back up through the high of day. And so it's hard to see exactly how I traded this because the executions are showing an average of the cost. And so it's showing that 223 average cost. But really, my initial entry was down there at 216 on the bottom of this candle. And then my re-entry, not my re-entry, my add was at 229. And then, of course, able to trade that pretty well. So that was nice. That was awesome. And, of course, it puts in place this big topping tail off the high. So take a full exit once it pulls back. And looks a little bit too weak off the high there. So then this pulls back off the 90 MA, and I totally missed this entry here because it has this big topping tail off the high. I'm like, do I really want to trade this now? And so left it alone from then. So look at this. It retests the high of day and puts in place a lower high here. And so when I see that, I'm saying, all right, well, we have this 1 minute flag forming here now. Are we going to, again, get breaking to the upside? I don't know. And so I try to get kind of aggressive, and I take this candle here. I take this pullback with a stop loss here at the bottom of this last candle to see if we couldn't get this thing to break up higher. And you can see here, I got stopped out for a small loss. Now, this was a quarter-sized position on the reentry because it was a little bit anticipatory, right? Because that risk to reward isn't anywhere near as great as this one back here. And so, of course, sizing down to account for the lesser probability and lesser risk to reward. And so kept that all proper there. Price pulls back again. After it puts in place this wick off the low, you can see here it pulls back, puts in place wick off the low. So then I take a re-entry here after confirming off the 90 MA. Again, stop loss would then go at the bottom of this candle. And I get a little move back up into, I think I might have had a 3-cent win on this. I can see here I got it from 226 to about 229. So nothing too crazy. So got a little bit of that little quarter size loss all back there. And then, check this out. So what happens here? And of course, this is still maintaining this area of demand, right? It has not pivoted back beneath yet. And so price knifes off the low, or off the high, excuse me, putting in place this confirmed top off the high. Now what happens here is it knifes underneath the 20 moving average, and then buyers step back in and it reverses and reclaims the 20 moving average. So I'm like, all right, well, it's reclaimed trend here, and we've again confirmed back over this past low. So let's try something here. See if we can't get back up into the top of this range, because we have, look at this. We have these lower highs getting, or we have these higher lows getting put in here. We have, again, support back here from this past range. Let's try it. So nailed the entry there at 224, risking the bottom of these last candles here to see if we can hold off the trend. And what do you know? So again, here I had, look at this. From 224 entry, risking off 218, I was risking about 6 cents a share. The range back up into the top of this channel here. And so I got it here from, you can see here, initially I was looking for 224 to about 235, about a 10-cent move with about 5 cents of risk, so about a 2-to-1 move. And again, as you can see here, I got more than that. I actually got to move here all the way to the 240s on this, where I knew we had resistance sitting overhead at 250 based on the daily time frame. So I took a full profit here. And then I was able to play the pullbacks as well. Now check this out. So this was a beautiful entry, one of the bigger wins of the morning. These two were the biggest wins of the morning, both trade 1 and trade 4 were the biggest wins, but we also had a little bit tacked up here into the highs as well. So what we notice here are these topping tails formed off the highs. And so with that comes another area of supply. Drag that on over. And so I know now again I can play these pullbacks. I can look for a bit of a pivot again. And so playing it off the bottom of that zone, look at this. Price pulls back. Again, what happens here is we find a big buyer off the 20 moving average. So price pulls back again off the 20 moving average and out of this past area of supply, which is now demand. So now I've got that confluence again. I've got the confluence of the 20 moving average right there. I've got room back up into the high of day. So again, it's almost an identical setup. So again, I take it again here and I catch it from 235 to 241. Right, another easy play. I was in there at 235, risking right here at 231, 4 cents of risk. And I was able to capture here right about a 7-cent move. Right, so pretty good. I'm happy. Another 2-to-1 move. So then I try to do the same thing here. It tries to make the move, you can see, but then it wicks off the high, and I barely get out of here with profit. And so pretty much left it alone from there. It starts to get to a point where it keeps on trying to curl, and it just keeps on finding some sellers. And we know we have 250 right here. So that chance of upside potential, that incentive to the upside is lacking. It's not really there. So nothing there to really capitalize on anymore. It wasn't really obvious anymore. But all through here, this thing was fantastic. So overall today, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins on it and 1 small quarter-sized loss. So this thing was nice today. Definitely super happy. Moving on from that, though, we had AKAN, another weed name today, which this thing was okay. It was a good setup, and this thing was the first one to really get moving today. This actually started moving before YCBD, and I liked the setup. And you have this first extension to the high after market open. It starts to get breaking higher. I sort of get aggressive and take this pullback to see if we can't get that instant continuation. And we do, and it actually makes a move here higher, but it's just so choppy. Look at this. It makes a move from 96 on my entry all the way to 99 cents to retest that dollar level. I take a full exit here because it instantly tries to drop back beneath that previous high like this. See this here? Where we have this double top high, it tries to break above and continue. It doesn't continue, so I just take a full exit. And I say, all right, I'm just going to go move to YCBD instead. So I left this thing alone. It just traded a lot nastier. It didn't have as much meat on the bone, so it was a little bit too thin for me. Then we also had ADTX, which I tried to get something here. Didn't really get much. So here we had, again, the break of trend out of the open. I tried to take an entry here on the pullback off of VWAP for the extension up back into the previous high. Again, I don't get that move. I get something here, and it just, per my strategy, anytime I'm looking for a breakout like this to continue, the second it doesn't continue, I'm out. I'm taking my profit, taking my break even, taking my small loss, whatever I've got. In this case, it was small profit. And so, look, it tries to break out here after the pullback. It tries to get breaking out higher, but again, rejects instantly, so I just take a full exit. So, good setup, no follow through, but traded it well. So, all that being said, that sums up the morning recap. Today's theme was the cannabis names. The free watch list last night nailed it again. If you did learn a thing or two, make sure to subscribe for daily content just like this every single day. And of course, make sure to go down to the description below, claim your 7-day free trial where you can actually watch me trade these stocks in real time every single day and get alerts, watch list, chat room access, education, scanners, news, our new journaling program, and so much more. So make sure to lock that in before the end of the year because things are getting crazy hot into Christmas next week. Things are looking fun. Things are fun. It's been an awesome week so far. So let me know in the comments below how you did today. Hopefully you had an awesome, blessed day again today. I know I'm grateful for the opportunity we had, and I'm ready to roll on into Thursday and Friday and do it all over again. So I will see you back tomorrow morning. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you back then.